All right, next we are going to talk about AI agent frameworks. Now there are two categories I have divided into, but there are many frameworks, but these are like some top list I brought it together so that we can have some basic understanding of what are the frameworks available and what are their capabilities. So I'll go one by one, but what I'll do is I already have the presentation, like a detailed presentation of these frameworks of the link here below. So that's what I'm going to use. So this is like a, think of that, if I want to build application, how do I start? So you need to write a basic code and we'll see the basic code. But once we start looking into real world applications, so frameworks will help. So we have few frameworks and there are some stats available here that why AI agent revolution is here. But that's fine. But the focus of this slide is on frameworks. So there are open source framework which I want to talk first. And first one which I really use and find it quite helpful is LangGraph. Now when I say helpful, is helpful for the work which I do. It may not be helpful for someone who is not doing low level technical work. So that's what I want to call out these capabilities so that you understand what is used or what is which framework is capable for what kind of usage. So if I talk about LangGraph, it is first of all popular one. Very early it started giving us this capability of agent, I think almost in 2024, early 2024. And from there it was originally just, I remember the agent, they used to call it an agent library or something. And there is something called LCEL, a LangChain expression language, where we can have an agent and then basically LLM and also adding some one or two tools and it will form agent. Plus there was some agent functions or SDKs also given to do that. But later on they came up with a complete new concept of LangGraph, which is based on a graph data structure. So it is like how do I see a problem of this agentic behavior? So we look at the use case. If I look at any use case which needs to be performed, so it's like, for example, if it is a single agent to perform some task with set of tools, that's fine. So you don't need really any kind of a framework. You can write a very simple code using LangChain kind of framework or Llama Index kind of framework. But what it is good at is that when we start using it with the multi-agent application, that is where it helps. So if you look at this, I mean, these are some of the real world success stories, and this link is having information about the stats and matrices, about the use cases and the testimonial from different companies. But the main thing is that it has a graph architecture so that you can do orchestration. So there are two types of orchestration we can do here. One is the workflow based, and that's a standard as well. So we will look into that when we go into the implementation or the architecture. But the workflow is like step 1, step 2, step 3. So step 1, I think we looked into the previous one of the use case. If I have to generate a content, so I need to plan first, that's a step 1. Then I need to research on those topics, subtopics, that's a step 2. And then I need to write the content, that's step 3. So that's a workflow. So at each step is nothing but a different agent with the different capabilities, like a different role they are playing. So that is how we can do it. And then second type is the fully autonomous, and they are also called React-based agents, which means there's an agent or set of agents, so they can call each other autonomously. So it will perform some task based on the capabilities they own, but it knows that, okay, this, now I already got the planning done, now I need to pass this, to complete the task I need to give it to somebody else. Maybe some other agent has to perform it, so it will call that agent. So those all configurations are performed using LangGraph. So LangGraph architecture is pretty, the whole framework is pretty flexible because I can do low level programming there. And then I have something called Crew AI. This is, I'll say, high level framework. It's good for building multi-agent application because here I do not have any control over the low level changes. For example, how the coordination will happen between agent 1 and agent 2, that is abstracted. So if I have two agents, they want to talk to each other. Let's say one is the a content writer, and the second one is a content reviewer, which is supposed to review the content and give a feedback to the first agent. Then I will just write these two agents, like they define the role and how they both should be, take working on a given data once the topic is given by the user or research. So that's the example here given. If the use case require multiple agents working together, let's say planner delegating to researcher and the writer. So Creo AI makes this natural and straightforward. So you do not write any code. Oh, I will be calling it, what data will come back from the each, because every agent will produce some information or some data. So how will I store the data? So everything, yeah, some configuration I think we can use in case some persistence required, but generally you have everything taken care by Creo AI. So that's like the best for I'll say where you don't want to go for low level programming. But it's still a coding, it's not a no code framework. Then we have Microsoft AutoGen, but now it is being moved or become a part of the Microsoft Agent framework, which they have recently launched, and we will take a look into that. But this AutoGen is something which was there, I think, almost 2 years now. Pretty early, they AutoGen, I think I tried it almost I think 2 years back now, and it was good, but it was like a pretty costly at that point of time. Earlier there was only one model like GPT-4 or Turbo, GPT-4 Turbo, which everybody was using for agentic capabilities. And this model, this framework used to consume a lot of tokens. That's what I remember. That's the memory I have. But now they've definitely optimized it further, made it quite competitive, so that as compared to other framework, and it has these capabilities, like you can have if you want to do some kind of reasoning, and if there's a complex reasoning and you want to say, okay, based on this output I want to take this decision, so those all things can be configured. And plus there's a good part which I also liked that point of time, which is human in the loop. Although human in the loop is there in every framework, I think as far as I know, whichever framework I used, because that's a requirement. You can't have a multi-agent application just leaving two agents and they perform everything. No, there will be always requirement for some approvals, some authentication, or whatnot. So I need human in the loop. So I think that is also the first of the first things. I think they were the first one who introduced it. And then we have recently, okay, so this way, okay, then OpenAI Agents SDK, which is very, very, I think, popular. But you can think of that, although this is like a standard, I'll say open source, and the standard is there, like, okay, we can use any model, but primarily it is used for using GPT models, like OpenAI own models. But they made it easy, like if you want to use GPT model and if you want to build agentic application using that, so better to use their SDK. So that's the whole idea. But I'll say now this one is good for those who work very closely with OpenAI ecosystem. But if you are using other models and all, then you have flexibility of using the framework like LangChain, Llama, LangGraph, and I think the one which is missing here, the category is Llama Index Workflow. That is also one of the good agentic framework. And then this is recently introduced, I think this year, Hugging Face Small Agents. So this is also picking up the popularity. I had not tried it, but I think whatever demos I've seen, this is good for supporting if you have like there's a good integration with the whole ecosystem. So that's what I've seen, and ultimately you actually can build a smart application with this. So but yes, I think it's just a matter of adoption, how people are picking this up. So this is from Hugging Face. And next we have a proprietary framework or backed by popular companies, but just like their adoption is always, or the investment or the effort or the kind of use cases they're catering, that's quite a large amount of use cases. So that's why we can see that, okay, if there is some new framework coming in the market, and adoption will take time, because you always have a concern, okay, how do I do evaluation, how do I make sure that it is integrated to my private data or the proprietary data. So all the and then security concerns are there. So those things are actually well addressed by these early, I'll say, players who are in the game of a large language model. So both Microsoft and I'll cover to and the Google, they are, I think, early into this whole of enterprise solution of which is agentic AI. But Google about AI agent builder, I think, is popular from since 2024. Good capabilities they have. They have the tools, like you just go and configure build the application. They have a rich ecosystem, especially they have a powerful search engine which is backed by Google search. So, and the infrastructure anyways is already tried and tested. So the Vertex AI is a platform for building AI application. So it's a capability, is one of the capability on that platform. And they have something called agent development kit. That is what I think is very I'll say stable, reliable, with the guardrails in place. Guardrails is very important, like what is going into the agent application and what is coming out of agentic application. So we need to have complete control over that. So that's what I think everybody's taking care of it. Similarly, this Microsoft, I think they have this agentic capability, but probably recently they formalized it, because as I mentioned earlier, there was an open source framework called AutoGen, which was getting used for a long time. Maybe that's the earliest one, I'll say. Rest all were new, but that now framework got introduced or repackaged, or probably improved version of that is introduced as an agent framework. That's what we can see, and there are good capabilities like A2A, which is agent to agent protocol support, along with MCP, which is very popular protocol for agents, like agents integrating to outside world in a very standard interface. So that's MCP. Now this OpenAI is something which got introduced only last few days, and the promos or the marketing videos were super, but we have to just see if they are really actually the way they have been showcased. Then I see the risk of many companies or many frameworks or many tools who have been built already in a similar space where people can just configure the workflow. And let's say if you are building a travel agent, you're building a planner, or you're building a research agent, any kind of agent you're building, you just configure a workflow without writing any code. And there are already tools available today in the market. So this, if is becoming popular, then there's a risk to other, because here OpenAI definitely has a edge, because it has like a billions of user already as a user base. So that's what we see here doing it. And then AWS Bedrock agents, I think mostly the users who are actually users of AWS other services, or probably generative AI services, so they would like to stick to the similar ecosystem AWS, and then that's the Bedrock agent as an option for them, rather than bringing totally new thing. So by default this is the first choice, because they're already using generative AI services or AWS. So this is about agent, and then I will see you in a moment the last topic, which is about business use cases. Stay tuned.